The rain-slicked streets of San Francisco's Mission District gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium glow of street lamps, but Daisy didn't feel the chill seeping through her thin jacket. She was 12, small for her age, with knees pulled tight to her chest on the edge of the curb, watching her father's pickup truck roar away into the night, its taillights blurring into red streaks of finality. "You're not my daughter anymore," he'd spat through the rolled-down window, his voice cracking like thunder over the Pacific, leaving her with nothing but a backpack stuffed with yesterday's clothes and the echo of her mother's sobs from the porch. In that instant, the world folded in on itself, sharp and unforgiving, as if the fog rolling in from the bay had swallowed her whole. Daisy's fingers dug into the frayed denim of her jeans, the same one she'd worn to school that morning when everything had unraveled. A stolen glance at Jamie in gym class, a whisper overheard by her little brother, and then the explosion at dinner. Accusations flying like plates across the table, her father's Bible thumping down like a gavel. "Faggot," he'd called her, the word landing heavier than any fist, because in their cramped row house filled with crucifixes and faded American flags, love like hers wasn't sin, it was erasure. She stumbled to her feet, backpack slung over one shoulder, and wandered into the haze, the city's pulse mocking her isolation. Vicarious spilling laughter onto sidewalks, couples huddled under umbrellas sharing churros and secrets. By dawn, her legs gave out on a bench in Dolores Park, the kind etched with lovers' initials and overlooked by palm trees that whispered promises to no one. Daisy curled into a ball, the wood damp against her cheek, and let the exhaustion pull her under, dreaming of hands that held without judgment. Delilah Voss had always chased the horizon, first as a scrappy kid in Oakland, scraping by on scholarships and sheer grit, then as a tech wunderkind who'd turned a glitchy app into a multimillion-dollar empire by 28. At 35, she was the queen of Silicon Valley's underbelly, her penthouse overlooking the Golden Gate a fortress of glass and steel, filled with abstract art that screamed success and solitude in equal measure. But on that foggy Saturday morning, as she jogged the perimeter of Dolores Park with her rescue mutt, Luna, tugging at the leash, Delilah's world tilted on its axis. Luna stopped dead, ears perked, whining at the bench where a girl, no older than 12, Delilah guessed, lay huddled like a discarded puppet. The child's face was smudged with dirt, her chestnut hair matted, and even in sleep, her brows furrowed as if warding off ghosts. Delilah's heart clenched. She'd seen that look before, in the mirror at 13, after her own mother's hushed prayers and her father's averted eyes had driven her into the streets. "Hey!" she murmured, kneeling slowly, her breath fogging in the crisp air. The girl stirred, hazel eyes snapping open, wary wild like a cornered fawn. "What are you staring at?" the girl snapped, scooting back, her voice a fragile blade. Delilah held up her hands, palms out, the universal sign of no harm. "Just, you look like you could use a coffee. Or a blanket. Name's Delilah. This is Luna. She's a better judge of character than I am." Luna nosed forward, tail wagging tentatively, and the girl Daisy, she learned after a beat of silence, cracked a ghost of a smile, scratching the dog's ears. They talked, or rather Delilah coaxed words from Daisy's clenched fists. The fight, the truck, the words that burned worse than the November chill. "They said I was broken," Daisy whispered, eyes fixed on a pigeon pecking at crumbs. "Like God's mistake." Delilah's throat tightened. She knew that scripture-twisted venom all too well, the kind that turned families into battlegrounds. "You're not broken, kid. You're just you. And that's enough." She offered her thermos, hot cocoa spiked with marshmallows, and watched Daisy sip, the warmth thawing something in both of them. By noon, against every instinct screaming lawsuit or liability, Delilah had bundled her into a cab back to her loft, promising just a shower and a meal. But as Daisy marveled at the view, the bridge piercing the clouds like a silver arrow, Delilah felt the pull of something deeper, a tether she hadn't known she was missing. The first weeks blurred into a fragile routine. Delilah's assistant, Marcus, a no-nonsense queer dad from the Castro, handled the paperwork. Temporary guardianship, social services on speed dial. Daisy claimed the guest room, its walls papered in vintage concert posters. Janis J. Joplin, Patti Smith, women who'd howled their truths into the void. Delilah worked from home more, trading boardroom battles for bedtime stories scavenged from her own dog-eared childhood books. "Why'd you pick me?" Daisy asked one night. Cross-legged on the rug, Luna sprawled between them. Because the universe has a funny way of handing you what you need, not what you want, Delilah replied, tossing a pillow at her. It was half true. The other half was the ache of her own barren life, the parade of fleeting dates that never stuck, the empire built on code but crumbling under loneliness. Daisy adapted like fog to the hills, school at the progressive charter downtown, where rainbow flags fluttered without irony, and art classes that let her sketch the chaos in her head. Swirling storms of faces, half-formed hands reaching out. Delilah watched her bloom, tentative petals unfurling. A laugh at Luna's zoom eyes, a hesitant hug after a nightmare. But shadows lingered. Daisy's phone buzzed with blocked numbers, her aunt's pleas, her brother's fumbling apologies, until Delilah taught her to silence them. Boundaries aren't walls, Daisy. They're gardens. Yet the past clawed back. On a crisp December afternoon, as they strung lights on Delilah's balcony, tiny stars against the bay's endless gray, a black SUV pulled up below. Daisy's father stepped out, flanked by a social worker in an ill-fitting suit, his face etched with the righteousness of regret. "Daisy Marie," he boomed up at them, voice carrying like a sermon. "This woman's no family. Come home where you belong." Daisy froze, lights dangling from her fingers, the warmth of the moment shattering like ornaments on concrete. Delilah's arms slipped around her shoulders, steady as an anchor. "She is home, Mr. Ramirez. And she stays." The confrontation stretched into hours, lawyers on speakerphone, tears streaking Daisy's cheeks as her father railed about sin and salvation. "You're poisoning her," he accused Delilah, jabbing a finger at the glass. But Daisy, voice small but steel-edged, stepped forward. "You poisoned me first, Dad. When you chose your God over your girl." The social worker mediated a cooling-off period, but the wound festered. That night, Daisy barricaded herself in her room, sketches torn and scattered like confetti from a funeral. Delilah knocked softly, entering with mugs of chamomile. "He'll come around," she lied, settling beside her. "No, he won't," Daisy said, voice muffled in her pillow. "But you did." In the quiet that followed, Delilah saw the future flicker. Not just rescue but roots. She filed for formal adoption the next day, her empire's resources a shield against the storm. Christmas came wrapped in tinsel and takeout tamales from the mission, Daisy's first without accusations. They baked snickerdoodles, Delilah's abuela's recipe, passed down through whispers, and danced to old vinyl in the living room, Luna barking counterpoint. For the first time, Delilah's penthouse felt less like a trophy and more like a hearth. Spring thawed the bay's chill, and Daisy turned 13 amid cherry blossoms in Golden Gate Park. Delilah threw a party, small, safe. Marcus with his husband and their toddler. A cluster of Daisy's classmates with their non-binary pins and graphic tees. Cake smeared with frosting wars, laughter echoing off the Japanese tea garden's bridges. But as the sun dipped, casting long shadows over koi ponds, Daisy pulled Delilah aside, eyes serious beyond her years. "You're not just saving me, are you? It's real." Delilah knelt to her level, brushing a stray petal from Daisy's hair. "Real as the tides, kiddo. Real as you." Summer draped San Francisco in a golden haze, the kind that turned the city into a postcard of possibility. But for Daisy, it was a season of unraveling threads. School let out, and with it came freedom laced with fear. Her father's appeals dragging through family court, whispers from old neighbors filtering through Marcus's updates. Delilah shielded her as best she could, enrolling her in a coding camp at the Presidio. Ironic, given Delilah's own tech scars, but Daisy's mind wandered to canvases, not keyboards. "I want to paint the paint out," she confessed one afternoon. Easel set up on the balcony overlooking Alcatraz's ghostly silhouette. Delilah nodded, procuring supplies from a Haight Street shop stocked with turpentine and dreams. "Then paint it fierce." She watched Daisy mix cerulean and crimson, strokes bold as her emerging self, portraits of phantom mothers, landscapes where fog hid but never erased. In those sessions, Delilah shared fragments of her own tapestry. Growing up in a flat above a laundromat, the sting of her first crush on the girl next door, the scholarship to Stanford that felt like stealing fire. "I built walls with code," she admitted, sipping iced tea as gulls wheeled overhead. "But you're braver. You're letting it bleed onto the page." Daisy's art became their bridge, exhibited in a makeshift gallery during a block party. Neighbors in rainbow lays, sipping sangria under string lights. Delilah's pride swelled, a quiet tide, but envy flickered too. Daisy's youth, unscarred by the compromises she'd made. Dates had dried up. Her last, a venture capitalist with a jawline sharper than her wit, ended in polite texts about timing. Loneliness was a successful woman's shadow, cast long by spotlights she no longer craved. Then came Elena. She arrived like a summer squall, a freelance photographer scouting locations for a queer history docuseries. Marcus introduced them at a fundraiser for the Lavender Law Project. Delilah in a silk blouse that hugged her curves, Elena with camera slung over her shoulder, dark curls framing eyes like polished obsidian. "Your app saved my sister's life," Elena said. Clinking glasses of Napa Cabernet. Coming out in a small town? That map of safe houses was a lifeline. Delilah flushed, rare as a clear sky dawn. They talked for hours, Elena's lens capturing the Castro's murals, Delilah's ventures funding shelters in the South. By night's end, Elena's card burned in Delilah's pocket. Coffee? Or something stronger? Daisy noticed the spark, teasing over breakfast pancakes. "She's hot, Delaware. Like finally hot. Watch it squirt," Delilah laughed, flipping a flapjack her way. But the dates bloomed. Walks along Ocean Beach where waves crashed like confessions. Picnics in the Presidio with Elena's lens stealing candid shots of Delilah unguarded, wind-tousled and alive. For the first time in years, Delilah let someone see the code beneath the empire, the doubts, the what-ifs. Elena listened, her touch light as a shutter click. A hand on her knee during a screening of Carol at the Roxy. A kiss under the Lombard Street hydrangeas that tasted of salt and second chances. Daisy watched from the periphery, her own world tilting toward adolescence's edge. At camp she met Riley, a lanky 14-year-old with blue-streaked hair and a skateboard etched with pronouns, whose easy grin cracked Daisy's shell. They bonded over glitch art, Riley's fingers brushing hers as they debugged a pixel storm. "You're like intense in the best way," Riley said, cheeks pink under the computer lab's hum. Daisy's heart stuttered, a new language of longing she sketched in secret. Riley's profile against fogged windows, tentative and tender. But Joy's underbelly is jealousy, and it slithered in with a phone call from Daisy's aunt. "Your pa's got a lawyer now, Mija. Says that woman's turning you queerer." The words ignited old fuses. Daisy lashed out at Delilah over dinner, plates clattering. "You think you're fixing me? Like I'm your project." Tears streaked her face, the accusation a mirror to her father's venom. Delilah reeled, fork suspended. "Daisy, I'm not. You are. Elena's all you talk about and I'm just the stray you picked up." She stormed to her room, door slamming like a verdict. The rift widened. Delilah threw herself into work, mergers blurring into midnight emails, while Daisy skipped camp sessions, wandering the missions alleys with Riley, sharing stolen churros and stories of exile. Riley's family was a beacon, 2 moms and a Victorian with a pride flag porch swing. But even there, Daisy felt the orphan's ache. One evening as they sat on Riley's stoop watching fireflies mimic the city lights, Daisy confessed, "I love her, you know. Delilah. But what if she loves me back less?" Riley squeezed her hand, simple as that. "Love's not a ledger, Deus. It's the mess in between." Delilah, meanwhile, confided in Elena over dim sum in Chinatown. "She's pulling away and it's my fault, pushing too hard or not enough." Elena's camera rested idle. Her focus was Delilah's fracture lines. "You're both scared of losing. Let her come to you." That night they made love for the first time. Not fireworks, but a slow unraveling on Delilah's king-sized bed, sheets whispering forgiveness. Elena's touch mapped her scars, turning isolation into intimacy. Reconciliation came ragged, on a fog-bound hike up Twin Peaks. Delilah found Daisy there, sketchpad abandoned, staring at the city sprawled like a lover's limbs. "I miss us," Delilah said, voice raw as the wind. Daisy turned, eyes red-rimmed. "Me too. But Dad's coming back to court. What if he wins?" "He won't." Delilah pulled her into a hug, chins on shoulders, the vista a testament to endurance. "We're family, Daisy. Blood or not." Fall's leaves turned the park gold, and the hearing loomed like a storm front. Daisy's father arrived in a borrowed suit, Bible tucked under arm, his plea laced with paternal piety. "I can save her soul." Delilah's team, pro bono from the ACLU, countered with affidavits of stability, Daisy's thriving grades, her art award from the De Young. But the judge's gavel hung heavy, and in the hallway after, Daisy's hand slipped from Delilah's, fear a chasm. That night betrayal brewed. Not from blood but bone. Elena, scrolling for her docuseries, uncovered an old interview. Delilah, 25 and hungry, outing a rival founder's affair to clinch a deal. It was business, Delilah explained later, over cooling Thai takeout. But Elena's eyes hardened. Business? Or just survival? You built on secrets, Delaware. How do I know we're not one? The fracture echoed Daisy's own. Elena left with her camera bag, the door clicking shut like a period. Delilah sank to the floor, Luna nosing her cheek, while upstairs Daisy overheard, her world fracturing anew. Everyone leaves, she whispered to her reflection, the girl in the mirror too much like the one on that bench. Winter clamped down on San Francisco like a vice, the holidays a hollow echo in Delilah's loft. Stockings hung solo, the tree's lights twinkling mockery. Daisy turned inward, her sketches darkening. Thorny vines choking figures in fog, colors bruised purple and gray. School dragged, Riley's texts unanswered. The courtroom scars festered, her father's parting shot. You'll burn for this. A litany in her dreams. Delilah tried bridging the gap with gestures. Tickets to a SF symphony matinee? Beethoven's pathos mirroring their own. But Daisy deflected, words barbed as Bay Bridge cables. You're busy anyway. Go chase your mergers. Delilah wasn't. Elena's ghost haunted her inbox, deleted drafts piling like unsent apologies. She poured into Daisy instead. Volunteering at the youth center, where queer kids swapped stories in a circle of folding chairs. There Daisy met Sage, a 16-year-old trans poet with ink-stained fingers and verses that sliced clean. We are the commas in God's run-on sentence. Sage's presence steadied Daisy, their late-night walks along the Embarcadero a confessional under fairy horns. Loss isn't the end, Sage signed, SL her armor. It's the ink for the next page. Inspired, Daisy entered a citywide art contest. Theme, Roots and Routes. Her piece, a mixed-media collage of torn family photos overlaid with maps of safe houses, Delilah's hand sketched large and open, earned honorable mention. The reception at the Asian Art Museum buzzed with patrons in cashmere, flashbulbs popping like distant thunder. Delilah stood beside her, arm-linked, pride a quiet flame. This is you, kid. Unbreakable. But the high crashed on the gallery's marble steps. A reporter from the Chronicle, sniffing scandal, cornered them. Ms. Voss, rumors of a custody battle? Exploitation for your image? Delilah's smile iced over, steering Daisy away. But the article dropped online by midnight. Tech Titan's charity case. Lesbian legacy or legal ploy? Trolls swarmed Delilah's feeds, slurs slithering like sewer rats, while Daisy's school buzzed with sideways glances. Daisy confronted her in the kitchen, screen glowing accusations. Is it true? Am I just PR? Her voice broke, a 12-year-old's wound reopened. Delilah's chest caved. God no. You're my everything. She pulled out the adoption papers finalized in October, her signature bold beside Daisy's looping script. See? Legally, eternally. Daisy traced the ink, tears splashing. Then why does it hurt so much? Because love's a battlefield, Daisy. And we're both still learning the terrain. Spring's thaw brought tentative greens to the hills, and with it a pilgrimage. Delilah drove them south on Highway 1, the Pacific a turquoise roar beside cliffs carved by time. Destination: Big Sur, where redwoods whispered ancient tolerances. They hiked Pfeiffer Beach, purple sand shifting underfoot, keyhole arch framing the horizon like a promise. Daisy collected pebbles, smooth as forgiveness, while Delilah shared Elena's aftermath. She saw my shadows and ran. But you? You stay and paint them. Camped under stars that pierced the canopy, they roasted marshmallows, stories unfurling like smoke. Daisy admitted her crush on Riley, the terror of confession. What if she laughs? Like Dad did. Delilah's laugh was soft, Sage. Then she wasn't worth the sketch. Real love doesn't mock, it mirrors. Back in the city, Daisy mustered courage at a Pride Youth mixer in the Castro. Rainbow crosswalks slick with confetti. Riley was there, spinning tales of zine fests, and when Daisy stammered, I like you, Riley's grin split wide. Took you long enough, artist. Their first handhold was electric, tentative, under the rainbow flag at Harvey Milk Plaza. A vow etched in sidewalk chalk. Delilah watched from afar, heart full, but her own routes called. A conference in Austin beckoned, panels on ethical AI, but Elena's shadow loomed, now directing a short on queer elders in the South. Delilah emailed simple. Saw your trailer. Beautiful. Miss your lens. Reply came swift. Miss your light. Coffee in SF. Reunion was rain-lashed brunch at Tartine. Croissants flaking as walls crumbled. Elena's apology was a poem. I projected my fears onto your empire. Forgive. Delilah's yes was a kiss across the table, public and unapologetic, the world blurring to just them. But summer's heatwave brewed betrayal's storm. Daisy's father, desperate, leaked old voicemails to a tabloid. Daisy's childhood pleas twisted into brainwashing claims. The custody appeal reignited, judge demanding mediation. In a sterile conference room downtown, faces gaunt under fluorescence, he begged. I was wrong, Mija. Church says repent. Come home. Daisy wavered, his cologne stirring ghosts. Tacos on Sundays, bedtime psalms. You threw me away, she whispered, but love's residue clung. Delilah sat silent, her hand under the table a lifeline as Daisy chose. I forgive you. But homes changed. The gavel fell in their favor. Adoption ironclad. Victory tasted bittersweet. Daisy's sketches lightened, but Delilah saw the cost. The girl's empathy a double-edged blade. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting the Presidio like burnished coins. Daisy and Riley's bond flowered. Bike rides to the beach, mixtapes of Halsey and Haley Kiyoko. Delilah and Elena rebuilt. Weekends in Napa Vineyards. Elena's camera capturing Delilah amid vines, vulnerable and verdant. Yet cracks spidered. Elena's docuseries demanded travel, New Orleans, then Berlin, while Delilah's board pushed expansion, late nights coding solitude. One November eve as rain lashed the windows, Elena packed. This is it, Delaware. The work that matters. Delilah nodded, but the loft echoed empty. Daisy found her on the balcony, wine glass trembling. She'll come back, Daisy said, echoing old comforts. Not all do, Delilah replied, voice a fracture. Winter solstice brought the high tide of hurt. Daisy's school play, the Laramie Project, Voices for the Silenced, cast her as a grieving friend, lines searing. I love him no matter what. Opening night, the audience a sea of faces. Riley front row beaming, Marcus with tissues. But in the wings, Delilah spotted Elena. Unannounced, camera down, eyes wet. Post-curtain amid hugs and roses, Elena pulled Delilah aside. I can't balance it. The road or us? Delilah's world tilted, the betrayal not malice but magnitude, the pull of purpose eclipsing theirs. Then go, she said, steel masking the shatter. But leave the door cracked. Elena left at dawn, cab taillights fading into fog. Daisy, overhearing from the stairs, climbed into Delilah's bed, Luna wedged between. We're okay, she murmured, small hand in larger. Just us. In that tangle of limbs and loyalty, Delilah felt the drama's pivot. Not loss but legacy. The empire could wait. This girl, this bond was the code that compiled true. The new year dawned brittle, San Francisco's skyline a jagged promise against January's slate skies. Delilah threw herself into reinvention, scaling back the startup, funneling profits into a foundation for queer youth housing, brick-and-mortar havens from benches to belonging. Daisy thrived in the shift, her art classes at the San Francisco Art Institute yielding murals for the centers. Vibrant tapestries of intertwined hands, colors defying grayscale despair. You're making space, Daisy said one afternoon, paint-splattered overalls hugging her growing frame. 13 now, edges softening into teen grace. Delilah smiled, wiping cerulean from Daisy's cheek. We are. Elena's absence lingered like a half-erased tattoo. Occasional postcards from film fests, Berlin's Bears, New Orleans jazz funerals, but no returns. Delilah dated sporadically. A barista with tattoos of constellations, a professor dissecting Foucault over falafel. None stuck. Her heart, recalibrated, sought depth over dazzle. Daisy's world, meanwhile, swirled with firsts. Riley and she navigated the tender terrain of young love. Notes folded into origami hearts, stolen dances at school formals under disco balls. But adolescence's drama demanded conflict. Riley's mom's progressive pillars hosted a family dinner where politics pierced the pot roast. Allyship isn't enough, Riley's mom argued. Eyes on Delilah's venture capital past. Tech's complicit in surveillance states hurting our community. Delilah bristled, fork paused midair. I'm funding change, not chains. The table tensed, Daisy shrinking beside Riley, whose silence screamed sides. Later in the car, Daisy erupted. You always fight. What if they hate us now? They don't hate us, Delilah countered, gripping the wheel through Soma traffic. They hate systems. And so do I. The fallout rippled. Riley pulled back, text cooling to emojis, until a tearful park bench reconciliation. Daisy sketchpad as peace offering, drawing them as superheroes against shadowy servers. We're on the same team, she told Riley, and the kiss that followed was apology and anchor, salty with forgiveness. Spring unfurled in protests, the city alive with marches for trans rights, rainbow banners whipping like flags of fervor. Daisy joined, sign hoisted high. Love is the revolution, Delilah marching beside, Elena's influence in the chants she'd forwarded from afar. At a rally in Civic Center, amid drums and die-ins, Daisy spotted her father on the fringes, not protesting but watching, face a map of midlife miles. Their eyes met across the crowd. He nodded once before melting into the throng. No words but a truce in the tilt of his head. Delilah saw it too, squeezing Daisy's shoulder. Growth's a group effort. That night they hosted a debrief potluck, Sage reciting poems over paella, Marcus's toddler finger painting signs. Laughter layered the loft, a bomb against old barbs. Summer scorched in, and betrayal's blade turned inward. Delilah's foundation hit turbulence. An audit unearthed discrepancies. Not fraud, but sloppy grants to unvetted allies, whispers of favoritism toward her network. The board convened, suits starched with suspicion, demanding her resignation. You've lost objectivity, the chair intoned, a silver-haired alum who'd once toasted her triumphs. Delilah fought, fists clenched under the mahogany table. Objectivity? This is passion. But the vote was 6-4. She walked out, Empire's edge crumbling to a cliff. Home, she shattered a vase, porcelain shards like her composure, before Daisy found her on the kitchen floor, Luna licking salt from her cheeks. What happened? Daisy knelt, voice steady. I failed. The foundation. Me. Delilah's confession spilled. The isolation of success, the fear that without it, she was just the girl from Oakland, unworthy. Daisy's hug was fierce, 14-year-old wisdom in her grip. You're Delilah Voss. You found me. That's not failure, that's foundation. The scandal splashed, headlines hedging tech mogul steps down amid probe. But Daisy's art went viral, a mural auction for the centers, proceeds plugging the gaps. Elena called, voice crackling from Cannes. Proud of you both. Coming home soon. Delilah's yes was cautious, the door still ajar. Fall's equinox brought equilibrium. Daisy started high school at Lowell, halls humming with diversity. Kids in hijabs debating Keats, non-binary club plotting zines. Riley transferred in, their lockers adjacent. A serendipity sealed with gum-shared whispers. Delilah consulted freelance, her expertise a lifeline for startups sans the shackles. Time freed for Daisy's volleyball games, where cheers rose like tides. Yet drama crested in November's chill. Daisy's father reappeared, not in court but coffee. A tentative meet at Phil's, mug steaming between them. Therapy, he grunted, eyes downcast. Pastor says heal the wound. Daisy listened as he unraveled. His own buried doubts, a cousin lost to conversion camps, the church's chokehold cracking under his grip. I was scared, Mija, of losing heaven. But hell's losing you. Tears brewed, but Daisy held firm. Prove it, Dad. Show up. He did, sporadic stumbling. A game attendance, a pride sticker on his truck. Not seamless but stitching. Delilah watched warily, Elena's return complicating the weave. She arrived mid-December, duffel in tow, docuseries wrapped with an Emmy nod. Dinner was tentative. Tamales from the mission, Elena's stories of queer archives in Berlin. But as plates cleared, Elena knelt by Delilah's chair. I choose us. The road can wait. The kiss was renewal. Deep as the bay's currents, Daisy whooping from the couch. Winter wove them tighter. Christmas Eve snow, a rarity, dusted the bridge and they gathered. Daisy and Riley baking gingerbread queers, sage signing carols, Marcus's family in tow. Daisy's father knocked shyly, bearing a wrapped Bible. Not the weapon but annotated with marginalia. Verses of inclusion highlighted in pink. "For your garden," he said, echoing Delilah's words. The tree glowed, ornaments of memory. A tiny bench for that fateful dawn, a paintbrush for Daisy's fire. As midnight tolled, Delilah pulled Daisy aside, Elena's hand warm in hers. "You saved me first, you know. That bench? It was waiting for both of us." Daisy's eyes, hazel and whole, met hers. "Family's not thrown. It's chosen." The calendar flipped to spring 2026, San Francisco awakening in riotous bloom. Cherry blossoms rioting along Market Street, the air electric with renewal. Daisy, 14 and fierce, captained her debate team to regionals, arguments honed like her sketches. Identity isn't debate, it's declaration. Riley cheered from the bleachers, their love a steady hum. Study dates dissolving into stargazing on rooftops, hands laced like plot twists resolved. Delilah's foundation stabilized, rebranded under a collective board, her role advisory. A sage, not sovereign. Elena's integration deepened, her lens turned homeward, documenting the center's openings, groundbreakings in the Tenderloin, where formerly homeless queer kids cut ribbons with shears of hope. "This is legacy," Elena murmured one dawn, camera clicking as Daisy unveiled a mural. Figures emerging from fog, hands extended in a chain unbroken. Delilah nodded, arm around her waist, the shot capturing not just art, but the artists entwined. Yet drama's undercurrent persisted, a riptide beneath calm. Daisy's father faltered. Therapy lapses, church pull reclaiming ground. A heated call shattered a family brunch. "You're living in sin," he thundered at Delilah across the diner booth, Bible out like a shield. Daisy stood, chair scraping. "Then leave, Dad. Sin's choosing hate over heart." He stormed out, door-banging finality, but weeks later, a letter arrived, penitent, pleading. "Forgive my stumbles. I'm trying." Daisy framed it beside her sketches, a testament to triage. Summer swelled with summits. Delilah keynoting at Tech for Good, her speech a manifesto. Code for connection, not control. Earning standing ovations and Elena's proud tears. Daisy interned at the center, mentoring tweens with her story. Benches are beginnings, not endings. One evening, as she counseled a wide-eyed 11-year-old echoing her younger self, the girl whispered, "Will someone find me too?" Daisy knelt, echoing Delilah. "The universe has a way. And until then, you're enough." Fall's palette turned amber. High school homecoming, a whirl of taffeta and truths. Daisy and Riley slow danced to Chapel Roan under gymnasium stars, whispers of futures. Art school for Daisy, film for Riley. But conflict crested in whispers of separation. Riley's family eyeing a move to Portland for better schools. "It's not forever," Riley promised, but Daisy's sketches darkened anew, horizons halved. Delilah sensed the storm, drawing them for a weekend retreat to Point Reyes. Seaside cabins, waves a lullaby. Over clam chowder by driftwood fires, she shared her own heartbreaks. Elena's first leavings, the board's betrayal. "Love bends, doesn't break, if you let it." Elena filmed the talk, unscripted intimacy, later editing it into a short. Tides of Us premiered at the Frameline Festival to murmurs of masterpiece. The high tide of hurt hit winter's cusp. Daisy's father, redemption ragged, invited them to Thanksgiving. His sisters spread in Daly City neutral ground. Tension simmered in the turkey's steam. Aunts averting eyes, cousins quizzing Delilah's lifestyle. But as pie circled, he stood, voice gravel steady. "This family's fractured. But Daisy's light, hers and Delilah's, shows the mend. I was blind. Now I see." Toasts followed, tentative, tears salting the gravy. Daisy squeezed Delilah's knee under the table, a silent "we did this." Yet the deepest drama unfolded privately. Elena's next project, a global queer oral history, demanded a year abroad. Tokyo archives, then Cape Town. Over mulled wine on New Year's Eve she broached it. "Come with me, Delaware. Or wait." Delilah's empire had shrunk to freedom, but roots ran deep. Daisy's graduation looming, the centers needing her voice. "I'll wait," she chose, kiss sealing the pact. "But make it our story too." Elena's departure in February was fog-wreathed, airport hug lingering like a fade-out. Daisy drove Delilah home, radio humming Joan Baez. "You'll be okay," she said, hand on gear shift. "We all will." Spring 2027 bloomed defiant. Daisy aced midterms, her portfolio accepted to CCA, California College of the Arts, scholarship in hand. Riley's family stayed, Portland postponed for family first. Delilah guest lectured at Stanford, her story a syllabus staple. From bench to belonging. Summer's solstice brought convergence. Elena returned early, footage laden with tales, samurai lovers in Edo woodblocks, Sangoma healers in Soweto. Their reunion was a road trip up the Lost Coast, wildflowers nodding approval, Elena's camera capturing Delilah's laugh lines deepened by joy. Fall's harvest yielded harvest. Daisy's first gallery show, Fogbound Hearts, selling out to collectors who wept at the narratives. Her father attended, suit rumpled, buying the centerpiece. A bench beneath stars, Daisy and Delilah's silhouettes entwined. "Proud Mija," he murmured, hug awkward but authentic. Winter wrapped them in wonder. Christmas, the loft a haven. Riley's guitar carols, Sage's poetry slams, Marcus's kin crowding the couch. Daisy's gift to Delilah. A locket with a tiny photo. That park bench sketched anew, engraved inside. Chosen forever. As snow flurried rare and radiant, Delilah clasped it, throat tight. "You gave me family, Daisy. From nothing to everything." Daisy leaned in, Riley's arm around her, Elena's hand in Delilah's. "Nah. We found each other. And that's the real American dream, messy, mended, ours." The city lights twinkled beyond, a constellation of comebacks, proving that even thrown shadows cast long, loving glows.